The following podcast you're about to listen to is brought to you by the Push Start Media Network, where everything you do in life begins with pushing start. Welcome to another episode of the Sports Your Enthusiasm podcast, Quick Hits. Today's episode, we are discussing the Baltimore Orioles. And for my Oriole fans out there, ain't looking too good right now. I'm sorry to say so. You might want to just tune into Baltimore Ravens football and enjoy the football season that's upcoming. But we're going to talk about them anyways. You got to show them some love here. Rueter, overall thoughts here on the Baltimore Orioles before we get into things?
Bryce, have you ever heard of a dumpster fire?
That's how we started this off.
Did I come off too strong there? Is that what I did? Did I go too hard?
That's pretty much the way to describe this team, man.
Yeah, man. I apologize to Baltimore fans in advance, but
Baltimore Orioles fans, let's be specific.
Okay. All right, yeah. I got you there. Oh, I forgot. I should have looked around this sea of purple in the room.
Damn right.
Even the artist formerly known as Prince would be proud in
Big
here.
Trust.
It's
whoop, whoop.
I am in the Baltimore Ravens fan kingdom here in this room. But on the other side of town here, the Baltimore Orioles, man, they find themselves in a really rough position, man. It's going to be tough for them to climb out of this hole. I think that along with the Detroit Tigers, this is one of the, and I guess you could say the Miami Marlins as well. Certainly a bottom three team in all of baseball this year. It's going to be a long season for the O's.
Last year, they finished with a record of 54-108, which was good enough for fifth in the AL East. And looking like it's going to be more of the same, unfortunately, for these guys. Really not much to talk about with these guys. Pitching is weak. The batting order is pretty weak. Yeah, man,
it's really tough. This is the culmination of a few years of signing the wrong big free agents, having a bunch of prospects that haven't exactly panned out, and just having some of your better players leaving for greener pastures all at the same time, and an ownership group that doesn't seem willing to spend on any big players, and a set of free agents out there that probably don't want to come to this Baltimore team right now. I mean, if you think about it, if you're a free agent, what's attracting you to this roster? You want to go somewhere where you can find some success, right? And aside from the money, which Baltimore is not throwing out there, it's going to be very tough to attract a big name free agent when your team's roster is built the way it is here.
I think their pitch for free agents is like, yo, we'll give you season tickets to the Ravens to see Lamar Jackson if you can't sign with us.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Have they thought of that?
They might want to.
Oh, branch out. We're going to give you $3 million a year and season tickets.
Season tickets, man.
That's smart.
Huge, That's
wow.
amazing. It's right there. I mean, it got so bad that Chris Davis, the first baseman, contemplated retirement this offseason and was willing to leave $69 million on the table to do so.
Which he should. He's a loser.
Yeah.
He's terrible. He's a thief. He basically just came in there. This guy hit like 7 home runs for them after coming off of a few seasons of hitting like 40 plus. To his credit, he was a great player for a few years, but then he got that big money, and the power I've never seen power disappear like it did with Chris Davis. He also went through a stretch where he went through like something like 20 plus at bats without a hit to start the season last year.
0 for 54.
It was 54?
0 for fucking 54, bro.
No way. It was 54?
Yes.
I thought it was like in the 20s, and that would have been bad enough.
0 for 54, bro.
Wow. 0 for 54.
He became a meme. He became a baseball meme.
Baltimore, if you're listening, I will gladly come and make $69 million and go 0 for 54 for you today if you're throwing out that kind of money.
Now.
I promise you, I can go 0 for 54 if given an opportunity.
I mean, shit, if you even want 0 for 108, I got you.
I'll go 0 for 54 for Baltimore Ravens season tickets. Forget the millions. I'll step in there and embarrass myself. I have no problem.
Davis's credit, though, he did add on 25 pounds of muscle this offseason and has gotten off to a hot start this spring. All right. He's batting .556, 3 home runs, 7 RBIs, 6 walks, and only been struck out once.
Stop it.
So I'm just saying.
You're reaching for bright spots now.
Saying,
I do like it. I like where your head's at, reaching for those bright spots.
You know?
I'm just not convinced on Chris Davis turning it around. He's facing guys right now that are going to be back in the minors in a month and a half. But hey, man, I'm with you. I'm with you trying to grab some bright spots. I think that there are maybe a couple pieces to build around on this team. I do like, all joking aside, Trey Mancini. I think he's a great young player. It's just one of those things where can you keep this guy on your roster for very long? He's maybe not a superstar, but he's a great piece to have on your team.
He put up some good numbers last year.
Yeah, he really
291, 35 homers, and 97 RBIs.
Plays a decent left field. He's a good player. He's a very good, solid player. There's nothing wrong with him.
Yeah, he's a future Yankee.
Probably. He's probably
likely
a future Red Sox, future Yankee.
Mm-hmm.
Makes me sick. But he's a great player. They have a couple of little bright spots. Renato Nunez came out of nowhere to hit a bunch of home runs last year. They do have a player, Austin Hayes, who's younger, that I really like. And a guy in Anthony Santander who surprised a little bit and was kind of a decent little guy too. So if there's any strength to this team, it's their outfield. Reddy mentioned them, Mancini, Santander, and Austin Hayes. That's a little bit, if we're clinging to life here, that's something that the Orioles fans can kind of look at and say, hey, we've got a good young outfield. And just the rest of the team, hopefully you can build around that somehow.
How about Hanser Alvarado? He was sort of like the utility guy last year for them. I mean, he started at 4 different positions. I mean, he pitched an inning for them. Put up decent numbers, batted .305, 12 homers, 51 RBIs.
Yeah, with Hanser, I don't know much about him. He wasn't a guy that was like a highly touted prospect, kind of came out of nowhere. With guys like that, it's interesting to see, can you keep that up, right? A lot of guys, when there's a pedigree and they're a highly touted prospect coming up for years and years, you kind of think to yourself, okay, yeah, this is what this guy's supposed to do.
Yeah.
When a guy comes out of nowhere a little bit, it's you want to kind of give him a season or two to see, okay, was this a blip on the radar that was kind of an aberration, or is this the real thing? They've got him slotted to lead off this year, so I guess Baltimore thinks that he's the real deal. So we shall see. There's another interesting guy, Rio Ruiz, who's looking like he might play some third base for them this year. Mm-hmm. This was a guy that was drafted, I want to say, 4 or 5 years ago, and ultimately had one of the higher power grades. So when you're grading prospects, there's an 80-point system that they apply. 80 being an absolute generational superstar, and then working your back towards like 50 or 55, usually in increments of 10 or 5 that they move. 50 to 55 being about average. He was rated really high on that scale, like in the 70s for power. He has not shown that yet in the MLB, but who knows? I mean, maybe if we're grasping at straws, this is a guy that could maybe finally blossom with the Orioles.
You never know.
And
how about their pitching?
The pitching, yeah, that was the next thing I was getting into. I've kind of liked Alex Cobb for a few years. John Means seems like he might be able to put in some good innings for them. But I mean, if John Means is your ace, I think you have more problems than you need.
Yeah,
I'll say that. I'm just struggling.
It's tough. It's tough.
They're turning my brain off and trying to think of nice things to say about them. But I mean, I don't have a single pitcher on their staff, aside from maybe Michael Givens, their closer, who I think could have like a sub-4 ERA. So when you can't score runs and you give up a bunch of runs, that is not a recipe for success.
Yeah, that sucks.
So I have them, if you said, did you say the Pacoda ratings had them at 108, or that was what they lost last year?
Last year they lost 108. This year, Pacoda actually has them competing a little bit better. They got them winning 9 extra games, so 63 and 99. But they have a 0% chance at winning the AL East and a 0.1% chance at the playoffs.
Yeah,
they only got a 1% chance at playoffs.
I can't believe that Pacoda's that generous. To be honest, that's a really generous rating there. But no, I think Baltimore is definitely in some trouble this year. Again, I mentioned it in one of the other quick hits segments that I think that Pacoda was a little generous, as much as I was joking that the 0.1% chance of the playoffs was generous. I think they were a little generous with the wins totals on some of these really bad teams.
Yes.
And I think Baltimore is the case there. I think they're definitely a 100-loss team again. That has kind of been the benchmark for being a really bad team. And very sorry, Baltimore fans, but this is a really bad team this year.
And it's not looking too bright in the future as well, because there's not too many I mean, they got some decent prospects, right?
Yeah, they have one, Adley Rushman, who I think is the standout. He's a catching prospect.
Yeah.
They haven't had the greatest history of catching prospects with Baltimore. Matt Wieters being another guy that was very similar catcher, top-rated catcher prospect in all of baseball. Never quite really turned it on to what he was supposed to be in the pros. Hopefully, Adley Rushman can be different. Interject some pop and some excitement into that Baltimore lineup. They don't think he's going to make his debut this year. They're looking at probably next year for him. The biggest prospect coming out for them this year is probably going to be Ryan Mountcastle. He's a guy that can play first base, a little bit of outfield, but corner outfield type guy.
Yeah.
He's in the top 100 for prospects, so he might show some signs. Again, if we're kind of reaching out, if we're on a limb here trying to figure out what's good about Baltimore this year, that young outfield, that's something that you can potentially build around.
Yeah.
They've got some work to do to try to attract some free agent players. They've got to draft well. They've got to get better there. But other than that, not looking too good for them this year.
If I'm the Orioles, you have a championship organization that's literally right across the parking lot. Literally it's a walk in Baltimore Radio Stadium. Go get Ozzie Newsome. Go talk to him. Like he'll figure some shit out. He'll tell you what to do.
Can Lamar Jackson play baseball?
He might.
Put him in the outfield.
He can do something. But it ain't looking too good for those guys. So
it's going to be tough, man.
Sorry, Orioles fans. I mean, we got the Ravens. We got Baltimore football down there. Stadium's nice. The stadium's real nice. I walked through it a couple of times.
Yeah, Camden is beautiful.
Yeah.
I'll give it that. It's in kind of a scary part of town, but the stadium itself is beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
The ballpark out there at Camden Yards is it's a beautiful stadium, historical building. But I don't know that their team matches it this year. So.
Well, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up there. That goes another Quick Hits episode, and we wrap up the AL East. You'll be hearing more future Quick Hit episodes here for you guys, breaking down MLB divisions in general, and then also we'll be doing some future episodes about other sports and other teams as well. So look forward to doing those. Other than that, make sure you are drinking more water, and we are wrapping it up there. Take care.